Meeting of the Public Safety Committee for August 27th, 2025. Roll call, please.
Recording in progress.
Okay. Chairman Gould, Chairman Plufka,
Here.
Alderwoman Sims,
Here.
Alderman Gould,
Here.
Alderwoman Harder.
Here.
All members are present.
The first item on the agenda is the approval of that agenda. Does anybody have a chance to look at it? And would anybody make any changes to the agenda? Seeing none from the committee, the agenda will stand as approved or as submitted. Our next item are citizen comments. Anybody in the audience or online can come to the podium, literally or figuratively, and I will recognize you for up to 3 minutes. Please provide us your name and address.
Good evening. I'm Stuart Clark, 2331 St. Clair Avenue.
Mark Abels at 2015 St. Clair.
Not really a public safety issue, more like a public works issue, but Mark and I were on Hanley Industrial Court. We use that street a lot to cut off the trail and head up to Forest Park sometimes.
Riding bicycles.
Yeah, and there's some really, really huge cracks in that particular street, right near where the courts are, sand volleyball courts across from there, 1900 to 2000. So we knew the Public Works wasn't going to meet for a while, so we thought we'd bring it here to you guys because it's a safety issue where somebody could really get hurt. These are very large cracks, like this. So anyway, if you could share that with the powers that be.
Okay, we will. And it's what section of?
It's from 1900 to 2000 on Hanley Industrial Court, just across from where the sand volleyball courts are.
Right.
I mean, there's cracks, about a lot of cracks in those streets out there, but these particular ones have opened up and somebody could fall in them and like us and get some public safety issues, and then they'd have to call out the police and the fire, and I mean, it could be public safety.
Well,
Then
some
you
of
come
these,
right back here.
some of these are getting so bad, seriously, that a car coming out of the police station, taking off on a call, could break an axle in some of these things. I mean, they're that deep, and some of them go all the way across the street.
Okay.
They've been patched and crumbled and patched and crumbled. Anyway,
Is the street
That's it.
surface cement
Pardon me?
or is it asphalt there?
pardon?
All right,
Cement or is it asphalt there?
Oh, well, the patches, I believe, are asphalt. The streets are concrete.
yeah, they won't need a picture. All they gotta do is go there. They'll definitely find them. Yeah, they'll definitely find them. We found them.
Yep.
Anyway, thank you very much. We do feel safe in Brentwood. It's the safest community in St. Louis County.
I have no doubt the cause is a lot of big trucks coming through there because it's an industrial park. Well, maybe it needs heavier streets because it's an industrial park. Thank you.
All righty. Gentlemen? Bye. See ya. All righty.
Anybody online?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I will declare the citizen comment section closed and move on to number 4, reports of the committee and chair. As the chairman, I do not have a report. Alderwoman Sims?
No report.
Thank you. Alderman Gould?
No report.
And Alderwoman Harder?
No report.
Thank you. Next, we have a city administrator report. There's actually a thing there, but that doesn't mean anything, right? Because it has to have something that has something I can touch on. Okay, so there's nothing there on number 5. We will move then to our department reports, and up first is our police department.
Fun getting old. I had surgery last week, so be out for a minute. Yeah, it was a bar fight. That's what I tell everybody. The crime report is very brief. The last few weeks have been very quiet. We did have a couple incidents I was going to speak to. We had 2 Audis that were broken into on August 21st. Both those vehicles, windows were shattered. The Audis being targeted by our local car thieves. A, they're fast, and B, that often these keys are left in these cars as a second in the glove box, and they know it, so they're breaking the windows. During that incident that night, Seth Mundorf and Jesus Dominguez were on a detail for our crime at night, saw the car and jumped it and pursued it into the city and then let it go. So they interrupted these guys in the process of attacking Brentwood, which is good. So right now we sit at 17 stolen cars. Last year at this time we were at 24. So our nighttime crime and our vehicle-related crime continues to go down in Brentwood, which isn't necessarily the same for all the communities that are in the area. I know 2 or 3 of our neighbors started a detail recently because they've been affected by the nighttime crime a lot in the last month or so. So our guys continue to find these guys and jump them and run them out of town. So I think that's helped us a lot. We did have a serious domestic assault case in this period. We had a heads up on a guy that was on federal probation that was living in the Brentwood Forest area, and he had a violent domestic assault with his girlfriend. So he's in custody on a $100,000 bond. At this point, I don't know if he's going to make it out or not, but he's going to face the federal probation officer when he gets out. So I'm not sure, Sharon, if you had heard anything about that, but he's still in custody as of yesterday. Update on our electric vehicle. It's taken literally months to outfit. It's still not outfitted. September 10th, it's scheduled to go finally. The best we've gotten so far is it says Brentwood Police, and that's it. So there's really nothing we can do about it. We got to get in line and wait, and that's what we've been waiting for. We're hoping by the end of September we'll have that car in play. On a related note, our traffic enforcement has been kind of switched around a little bit. Brian Hopler was promoted. I took Brian as a corporal and put him over our parks and our traffic unit, and so he's off to a roaring start. It's really been helpful as you as alderpersons and citizens and city administrator's office calls for traffic complaints in particular. It's so much easier to give it to Brian's group so that we know that there's some consistency. And it's a way for us to be able to revisit these spots. For example, the parking right now on over by the veterinary clinic is an issue for us. So Brian's hitting those spots like that each day. It just gives us that continuity that helps. The police department's getting ready to hire. We have one opening, and we're preparing to hire. We have a firefighter in Brentwood named Drexler. His son is put in for our police department, pending his last 2 tests from HR. We intend to hire him. He's a great young guy. He has to go to the police academy, so he'll start this in September and graduate in April. So that puts us behind the game in terms of having a full staff for those months. And then, of course, when he gets out, he's going to have to go on field training for a period of time as well. So hiring experienced officers helps us because we skipped that process, but this is the second one since I've been here. But he's a great kid, and I think he'll be an asset when he gets out. The last thing I was going to mention in my report was I had a meeting this morning with Jim Hetledge, the city's attorney, regarding the ongoing complaints that we have on the mini bikes. So Jim and I met and we talked at length about some changes to the ordinance, and he and his staff are in the process of doing that. He thought he was going to have it done for the meeting today. It didn't quite make it, so we hope to have that on the agenda for you in September.
Wonderful. Have any questions? Yes.
I've seen some enforcement lately, especially on Dorothy. There's been, I'll look out and I'll see cars pulled over and everything. That's great. I've had some residents who feel or suggest that we're pulling people over. That's great, but we're not ticketing as much. I've told them that I don't think that's the case. Can you kind of speak to whether or not there's protocol in place and how the enforcement gets
officers have
cited?
discretion on traffic cases. If it's borderline speed, for example. If somebody stopped 8 or 9 miles over the speed limit, the officer may give them a warning as opposed to a ticket. Sometimes they'll stop cars, the plates are bad, but the person has a reasonable explanation as to why they haven't been able to do it. So for reasons like that, we do give warnings. So I would throw you a number and tell you it's probably 50/50. Now, I would also tell you that those stops and those warnings are an effective way to also control our traffic issues. People, obviously people appreciate a break from a police officer not getting a $200 ticket. But it also sends a message that we're watching. It sends a message to slow down. So I think probably to answer your question most effectively, though, is the old St. Louis stop. The pump your brake twice and roll through a stop sign often will result in you need to stop sign warning. But they also keep track of the people they give warnings to.
Okay.
So if you got a warning for blowing a stop, rolling a stop sign 2 weeks ago, you're probably not going to get one this today when you do it. So that's kind of the process.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
Yes, sir.
Patrol? How are you, sir?
Well, thank you. I'm going to try and be brief and move through this a little quicker than I typically do. Value everyone's time. Hiring process, so I'm very proud to stand here and say we are fully staffed for the first time this year. Our most recent firefighter/paramedic began 2 weeks ago and is doing very well. Now, he is assigned as a paramedic-only role right now because he will attend the fire academy in January. And so we have already started that process. So we'll lose him from January through April, but that kind of helps us with the overtime budget, manage that into 2026. We have been having an ongoing promotional process for the open lieutenant spot. That concludes tomorrow with the chief's interview. We've had 4 internal candidates apply for that position. They have tested very, very well throughout the process. And so we will be taking a recommendation to the city administrator, hopefully by the end of this week. A couple training updates. So the general contractor is currently working at our training site for the infrastructure upgrades and the prep work for the installation of the tower. By contract, they are to be done by October. So then the site actually sits for a little bit until the tower is completed. They will bring the tower on site after the first of the year and then assemble. So that is progressing as scheduled. The Ladue Fire Department contacted us with a unique opportunity. They have a large home that is going to be demolished in the very near future, so they're allowing for firefighter training. So we don't get that type of training too frequently, so they're being very gracious. We have, I believe, 3 more weeks of training with them at this site. So again, just very valuable training for our people, especially with having so many new people right now. And then in September, the Special Operations Team of St. Louis County, because we continue to see flooding incidents, as a county-wide, we're sending our swiftwater rescue personnel to Six Flags, and they will go through the Thunder River course multiple times and perform several rescues. So it's actually the most realistic site in this region. So we're good with that.
Not Raging Rivers. Oh, that's
No,
the other
that's
way.
yeah, that's the other way. Yeah. So a brief update on East Central Dispatch. We've been navigating concerns since our meeting at Regis. I believe that was in July. Motorola was to be on site to meet with fire personnel just after our last public safety meeting, and they canceled. So we are now scheduled to meet this Friday. I just set it up since I've been in this room. So they're supposed to be on site here Friday to meet, to try and address our concerns. I have open tickets from May that have yet to even be addressed. So it's sending the example I provided in this report, our units sent to Interstate 270 and Manchester Road for a vehicle accident. There's a whole bunch of equipment between here and there, including DePere being in service, and our units were selected. That is a Motorola problem. That's on the Motorola side of the system, which we have no control over, we just report it. This has to be addressed. So those are concerns. I just wanted you to be aware of that. Over to my monthly performance measure, which is also attached here. I just want to bring attention to the trends in these performance measures. We are on track to run nearly 2,700 calls this calendar year. Last year we ran 2,300. So I think it's a pretty significant jump. Of course, we had multiple storm events this year which contribute to that. But the pace since the May 16th tornado, it has not slowed down, that's why we're here, to provide the service. But the pace has continued. We've had multiple rain events. So I think there's several contributing factors. I don't believe that's related to dispatch errors. It's just what the trends we're seeing across the region. A brief comment on vehicle maintenance. So our reserve ambulance had quite an expensive repair. It was returned earlier this week. Again, that vehicle is scheduled to be traded in on the purchase of the new ambulance in 2027. And it does have to be in good running order whenever it is traded in. So I know it was a costly repair, but very necessary to make sure we maintain service with that. I want to finish on some EMS billing, and I received some unfortunate news, I guess is an easy way to put it. The state of Missouri, for their Missouri GEMT reimbursement, so it's ground emergency medical transport. It's a reimbursement of Medicaid services. The state of Missouri contracts with Myers and Stauffer to perform audits of every year. It's mandatory audits of this program. Myers and Stauffer reached out essentially requesting funds for fiscal year 22 and 23 of $65,000. I've been in communication with our consultant that helps us prepare this report, PCG. They are disputing that request. They believe there's coding errors in Myers and Stauffer's review. They have very good data, which we have shared with them since that. So that number is in dispute, and I look for it to be resolved by the end of September. So I just wanted to share that, because when you look at our finances under the revenues of EMS billing, it is short a little bit because the GEMT deposit hasn't been made. That's typically made in April, and for fiscal year 24, they haven't made payment yet. Saying that, if we do have to reimburse at $65,000, we're going to have a net zero gain in GEMT for this fiscal year for the city of Brentwood. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention. I don't think that's going to be the case in the end, but the way it stands today, that very well may be. And we are starting the process for fiscal year 25's data collection. So I will have more. I'll have an actionable item on that at the next public safety meeting for us to proceed with that. And our monthly EMS billing revenues are trending higher than projected. We believe a couple of factors. We're transporting more patients, number one, but again, our data collection is good, and it's all contributing to a favorable revenue. I'm going to add one item that I did not have on my list, if I may, and that's regarding an EMS incident that happened in Brentwood at the sports complex Sunday evening. We had a gentleman playing baseball fall into cardiac arrest during the game. We did have success. They did revive the patient. He was quickly transported to St. Mary's Hospital. And again, this was Sunday evening or late afternoon. And St. Mary's then transferred the patient to St. Louis University Hospital. That, as fire chief, that's unacceptable. We have the ability to communicate to them on scene. We transport severely ill patients to them because they are the closest hospital that is provide the highest level of care. Their cath lab was not operational because it was not staffed. So if they cannot guarantee their staffing 24/7, we're not going to take these critically ill patients to them. We're going to bypass them and go to a more appropriate hospital. We have talked with our medical director. He is adamant that we do that. I'm sharing that news with you in the event of someone, if they become upset because they want to go to that hospital and it is the closest, it may not be the most appropriate. So typically, we're able to talk to family and explain that, but I just want you to be aware, just in case you're questioned or we are questioned on that matter. I will provide that in the weekly report so the other aldermen see that as well. But that's all I wanted to highlight tonight.
I have three, actually.
Sure.
So the first one is, what was our deposit? What is our anticipated deposit in the GEMT account for '24
For 24 alone, it's right at $39,000.
annually?
It varies depending on the number of Medicaid patients we transport in the prior year.
So what does the $65,000 represent, an entire year of transportation? or
It's
2
over
years?
2 years, correct,
2 years.
correct.
The entirety of the billing for those 2 years?
No, I apologize, I don't have that
No, that's
report in front of
okay.
me. It is a significant portion of it for that year. So our highest year of collecting GEMT, I believe, was 170,000, in that range. Our lowest would be this year, where we're at the 39,000. So it fluctuates year to year.
Okay. Yeah. All right, my second question had to do with, so what hospital would be in the running for being more appropriate?
Sure. So Barnes Hospital on Kings Highway, or Mercy out on Ballas, and I call them out specifically because of the neurosurgeons and the cardiologists with a live cath lab 24/7. St. Louis University has that capability as well, but they're further distance for us to get there.
My last question, on your performance measures, so you listed 250 false alarm calls. Is that part of the Motorola mistakes?
No, typically that category, the 700 category, those are fire alarm activations when there's no active fire.
So 10% really of all the calls?
Yes,
Wow.
yes. And honestly, it used to be higher.
Oh, really? Yeah. And is it mostly, those 700 calls, 700 categories, 700 calls, are those mostly mechanical error?
We always believed that until COVID, and that number dropped to nearly zero. And so human intervention,
Okay.
to some degree, whether it's burnt toast, burning popcorn in a microwave, in the commercial industries, that's a common response. But the sprinkler system leaking, so it needs repairs and they haven't made it yet, that creates those types of alarms.
Thank you very much. Thanks for your report.
Yeah, thank you.
Dan?
Okay. Good. Some miscellaneous project updates here. So 2627 High School Drive, that's where we'd put the data collector up. We've actually had it up multiple times near this intersection with Powell. This time around, since the school year started last week, Wednesday, I mounted it. It is to the south of Powell. It's closer to 2638, so it's closer to Manchester Road. So where it's mounted right now, it's taken its readings. I looked at it earlier today. Vehicle counts are around 1,100 vehicles per day. Without the school, it was around 1,000, so it hasn't increased tremendously. The percent violators, whenever I filtered it, you're looking at 4.5% of the total. So that's about 45, 50 vehicles per day. Of that total, are doing 30 and up. The total vehicle counts over that 7-day period so far, it's 7,912. And of that, the fraction that's going 30 and up is like 471. So I'll put together all the filters. I can put that in a weekly report. And then I can bring it back here too if anybody wants to take any action. I don't think there's a need because you're still, again, like middle single digits, like 4.5%, 5% is actually really good, even though people have crossed over the speed cushion and now they're heading south. There's slightly more going south because that's a straighter roadway section versus if you're coming north of Manchester, you've got that dog leg by Carl's Drive-In to go through, then a small gap, then you've encountered the speed cushion. So I'm not too concerned with what I'm seeing, but I'll put it all in summary form. Hopefully it all makes sense. Regarding Litzinger Road and Annalee, I know staff replaced the three-way intersection there with Annalee at Litzinger. It did have 24-inch stop signs. I know I mentioned that last time. We put 30s all the way around, so you do see it a little bit better from each direction. Litzinger at Bremerton, we were asked if we could come up with some sort of improvement, so there's some pictures there. So instead of just your transverse bars that go across Litzinger, we put in the ladder style, so that's a lot more visible. And we were able to use mostly thermoplastic for that, so it should last quite a number of years. If you like that, we could try to do that at the other crosswalks around each school. We bought enough material to do that as time allows. It's just good filler work.
Yeah, I think it looks significantly better, more visible, and so I would definitely recommend looking around our schools and just proactively changing them to the latter.
Okay, yeah, that's why I was looking for feedback, because I didn't want to charge ahead and do a bunch of other ones the same way if people didn't like
You need
this.
an official motion for that, or is that just
No.
concurrence and guidance?
Yeah, I just want to make sure
Consensus of
that,
the committee at least is that this is better, that it.
yeah,
does
especially
advance.
for something with such high encounters with pedestrians, it's like, well, I can do each leg around the school, go to, Mark Twain, McGrath. I'll finish McGrath first since we started there, and then work our way up to the high school and then over to Mark Twain.
Thank you.
And then lastly, the Pine Avenue west of Brentwood Boulevard, we did install the no parking signs and we painted yellow on the curb, basically from the vet clinic's driveway going east out towards Brentwood Boulevard on that south side.
Thank you very
So
much.
that's done.
Yep.
Strassner Drive, we do have a decorative light ordered for the light that was damaged. The other lights are working, but we're waiting on the final one so we can pop that in and have all 5 work. And then Manchester Road, waiting on a quote there. There's a damaged street light near the self-storage property. And we rented a bucket truck and put up the missing pedestrian warning signs. In case anybody saw those along, there was just a black post. We bought new signs, rented a bucket truck, put them up ourselves. Since the decorative signs are ours, MoDOT won't take care of them. That's part of their agreement is that they're ours. They would put back a regular galvanized steel if they had to, but I'd keep the decorative ones. And that's pretty much it.
Thank you. Any questions in the committee? Thanks, Dan.
Okay, thanks.
The next item is the consent agenda. The only thing on the consent agenda are the minutes from our June 25th meeting. Oh, no, I'm sorry.
And July 23rd.
And July 23rd. I didn't read far enough down. Can I get a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Alderman Plufka?
Yes.
Alderwoman Sims?
Yes.
Alderman Gould?
Yes.
Alderwoman Harder?
Yes.
Motion carries by a vote of 4-0.
Thank you very much. Our old business item has to do with Pine Avenue and the same situation that you just painted and put signage up on.
Yeah, we've received some information from a resident with concerns about parking, the vet clinic parking on public streets. Currently, the way the Table 3A is, no parking at any time. Where these folks are parked, they can park, because it's public. I highlighted the 2 areas on Pine for this block between High School and Brentwood Boulevard. So the both sides, that first 150 feet from the intersection going west, which by us painting, it matches the north side, so that's good. And then on the north side, going past that all the way down to High School, there is a time restriction, 8:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. each day of the week except Saturday, Sundays, and holidays. So I know police patrol the area. I don't know if anybody's parking during that time period. They can park outside the time period and, of course, weekends and holidays. If we did further restrict this, then we would have to amend Table 4Q, which is no parking except by permit. So I pulled the streets out of that section and put them in the memo, just so you can see there's not many. The one that's probably freshest in everyone's mind is Brazos Avenue. Ever since we opened up the, Brentwood Park, that became a flashpoint. So then we made changes, people got their stickers, and I haven't heard much since then. I think that's resolved.
Maybe let's start there. I was gonna ask you, have you heard anything? Have you?
Just me
anecdotally,
personally, just from
anybody-
one
yeah,
person.
Anybody calling into Public Works and,
Just the one person, I don't know, when I spoke with police, they didn't have, but I think one person as well.
okay. Have you heard anything?
I haven't like
about-
pulled the block. That was something we could do, because I mean, there's literally dozens of homes, and I don't want to just put a restriction in if it's to satisfy one, but the other 30-something homes don't want it.
I agree with that, and that's what I kind of was getting at with regard to Brazos. Was that the process that you used to
I
do
think
that?
on that one, it was just that people came to the meeting, there's not many homes there, and they were
Okay.
wanting it changed, and
So,
yeah, much smaller section, very few homes affected.
and before that was implemented, you had heard from at least a few of the residents
Oh, yeah.
along that section.
Yeah, in Brazos, it was multiple people, and then they came to meetings. Yeah.
How many, yeah, how many, right, how many, I appreciate the overhead map, and my math is bad, but how many residents would be affected if we went to a parking by permit only?
Yeah, and that's where I was curious. I would assume you'd want it on both sides of the street,
Sure.
but then, in my mind, if you're non-residents, if you're not in that block, I'm just gonna kind of chase you to other streets, either down to Moritz or up somewhere, or maybe even further west of high school. If it truly is the vet clinic people that are parking in the street, they're still gonna go to work, right? So where are they gonna go? They can't go to the library because the library is under construction. The thought is that once the library is done next year, those folks will have their agreement with the library and park staff there.
Do we have any understanding? I know that prior to construction, they operated kind of on a handshake, that they were allowing people to park there.
Right.
Do we have any indication from the library, the management, that they're gonna they're gonna change and be more restrictive when construction
I don't think
is
they're going
complete?
to change, but they haven't fully committed, but they said they would willingly continue to explore it for when their construction is complete. I don't think there's any formal agreement in place.
Okay. Oh, your microphone. Okay, all right. I mean, because I count about 40 residents along that, even that first block between high school and Brentwood Boulevard. And I've only heard from one resident. I sure like to hear from more than one resident before we decide to require them to all get permits for their cars. Because, I mean, that has a toll on them, too. I mean, it might be just the answer, because it might keep, spaces in front of their homes available.
We could do a letter like we've done, like with the parking restriction, that first 300 feet, obviously this would be the whole block, so door to door, hangers with information, work with the communications manager.
How expensive, is that a very
Oh, no,
expensive process to
nothing.
do that?
Not at all.
So, at this point, I mean, is the resident, is she online?
Is there?
No? Okay. I can certainly contact her after this meeting, but I'd like to entertain a motion if somebody on the committee would just recommend that staff authorize the Public Works Department to put out a mailing about what's contemplated here, that there's been complaints about folks using the veterinary clinic have been parking in what's normally a residential area, and that it's been discussed to perhaps move to permitted parking in that block and invite their feedback.
Make that
So-
motion.
Okay, thank you. Is there a second? Okay, and I think it's BAKAND, right? So it's your email address that we'll be using for contact?
No.
So, in all seriousness, I don't mean to make fun. I I don't know whether we'll get any feedback at all, actually.
Right.
Honestly.
I hope we do.
hope we
We'll
do too.
discuss how to get it and
Okay.
invite them to come to the meeting.
Exactly
actually.
right, and that's
Yes.
what I was gonna say, yeah.
And then if the library says you could park there, it's, in a couple
It's,
months.
it's a temporary thing anyway, or perhaps
Or
temporary
maybe a
thing.
year.
Ian, I don't know if it's ever come
You're
up.
temporary. Yeah.
But it's still
Has it ever
think
come
it's
up at the Ward 1 meetings? I guess, just curious.
for us.
Okay,
So I mean, I guess I just want some clarity on how that would be. To me, it would make sense to say, here are two options. One, explore the permit by only, or parking by permit only soon, right, immediately or whatever. Two would be wait for library construction to be done and would allow the employees of that to potentially, I mean, especially if we can get somewhat of a head nod toward what they would allow. Because it seems to me if you're going to just say, do you have problems with parking? Would you like some people might just say, yeah, that'd be great. Whereas if they know it's only temporary because it may not be an issue when the library opens up.
well, and the other side of it too is you'd have to be honest with them and say, it's gonna require you to come register and get.
Yeah, I
the
think we
permit.
just, the way it's worded to folks needs to be clear on what it's going to require of them, in my opinion, to get good feedback.
Did you do something like this for Brazos?
So there were only really two residents that we were talking to who were
Okay.
reaching out, and they were very clear on what they would like to see. So there wasn't anyone else that was impacted. So that was simpler.
Okay.
But there's multiple residents. So I'm taking notes. We'll incorporate everything you said.
And do we have any of those? It seems to me when I was looking at the overhead, it's like, it doesn't really make sense to do the entire block all the way up to high school, other than it's a clear,
First block west of Brentwood.
right, I mean, because it's, you're not gonna have people parking almost all the way up to high school to go to work at the veterinary clinic, so.
Right. I see that too.
It just seems like almost like half the block of Pine from, if we were to even entertain it, but that seems difficult to manage.
Yeah, I'd have
Have
to
we done
word it
that in
such that
other
it picks
areas?
an address. It's like you could pick like, arbitrarily like 8917 Pine, 8917-ish, 8914 somewhere. You would pick
I see
the
what you're
addresses on either side and say from Brentwood Boulevard to.
Got it, yeah.
And then
To
that's
that
the cutoff.
sign.
Yeah,
9, 14, and 15, yeah.
yeah, you could arbitrarily pick there, that's about mid-block, and then,
Right.
to your point, then west of there, you could still park. Are you gonna walk that far? Maybe, maybe not. Yeah, because this is a long block. I mean, generally speaking, that's like a double block. The other thing is, there's speed cushions on that section. And then on the north side, there's also a fire hydrant. We painted yellow by it so people don't park by it.
Right.
I mean, I assume the person who's complaining the most is probably adjacent, fairly close to,
That's my understanding, yeah.
I mean, I don't want to call anybody out, but
Yeah.
my assumption is that they're very close to the property anyway.
Yeah, she's relatively close. So, and the other issue is, this is gonna call for additional police enforcement. I mean, it just is.
Yeah.
And before we undertake something like that, I think we ought to at least do this much. All those in favor of empowering staff to do just that, to develop a memo that would go, or develop a letter that would go to the residents on that block describing what would be involved in permitting parking, as well as the complaints that have been made, and inviting them to share their feedback, and notifying them of the next public safety meeting.
All those, are you saying all those in favor, or?
Yeah, and all those, well, I'm sort of trailing off, I apologize. Yeah, all those in favor of that, of doing just that, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you. And thank you for the additional help. Under new business, we have the Public Safety Foundation grant application from Firehouse Subs. This is for bicycles, e-bikes.
Yes, sir, we were notifying, requested through the city administrator's office to apply for a grant. Firehouse Subs does $40,000 individual grants. So we like to apply for e-bikes to see whether or not we can get those in that grant. That's what this is about.
Is there any issue as to, I mean, is this costing us anything to make these applications?
No, it doesn't cost anything. Just the process is pretty easy with Firehouse. You type it up, and we have an officer that we've actually sent to training for grant writing. This is his first endeavor into seeking money through grants, so it's just an opportunity.
Does this have to go to the full board? Okay. Can I get a motion to recommend that our police department apply for grants from the Firehouse Public Safety Foundation?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion?
Do we currently have any e-bikes in our department? I would guess it would be a good thing to have with our trails.
No, we don't, and we would still keep the regular pedal bikes. We have one officer in particular that likes the exercise of just a regular bike, so. And they're very minimal cost to keeping our regular bikes up anyway, so we would keep a mix of those. And we're pressing more officers. We have, I think, 3, maybe 4 this year that are bike trained in addition. So we're pressing them more to ride in our neighborhoods and get on these bikes, so the more we have, the better I think we'd be.
Okay. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Alderman Plufka?
Yes.
Alderwoman Sims?
Yes.
Alderman Gould?
Yes.
Alderwoman Harder?
Thank you very much. Thanks, Chief. The last, I guess, is Dan. It's you again. McKnight Road Pilot Program for Pedestrian Improvements.
We brought this item to Public Works, but I know in the past when we did things about crosswalk improvements, it came to Public Safety. So this particular pilot program, if you recall the one we did, there was a pilot program over at Memorial Park between that and YMCA. Those enhancements were through TAPCO, which is the same company. Whenever you press that under low light conditions, it flashes the lights across the crosswalk as well as the advance warning where you're supposed to yield. This takes that a step further. So not only does it have the lighting system, it has an automatic pedestrian detection system. So you don't necessarily have to push the push buttons. It's got I think it's some sort of radar beam that you walk through and it breaks it. And then it'll automatically activate the lights without you pressing it. So if you're on a bicycle or something, you can ride through the beam. It'll turn those on, so you don't have to reach over and press it. It has the Safe Walk lighting system, which is the same as what the other one has by Memorial Park. It has cameras that upon system activation, it'll take images as well as video. And then all of this is tied to the Smart Hub, so it's all cloud-based. So if I want to look at it in real time, or if I want to go and query something, someone says, I pushed the button, nobody stopped for me, I can look at the cameras, send that to PD, or give them access, they can look at it. It's just username and password protected on a cloud that's through TAPCO. If we do the pilot program, they'll let us have the ability to use all that software for free for a 5-year period. After that, if we thought there's value in it, we could always renew, and start paying for it, but the 5-year period would be free. There is some cost associated with the improvements. So I had asked them to look at, I know the feedback I've gotten about the one at McKnight was it's a perimeter, like blinking light sign, and people say that they don't see it, which that's probably partly true. I can see the rapid flash beacons easier. So I asked them, what would it take to outfit this system that we have already there, swap out the signs, do the rapid flash beacons. So that total is about $3,710. So I know I have budget, I could afford that. We would rent a bucket truck because they want us to be able to help them put the batteries and collector up and do all that stuff.
We run into any concerns with regard to our neighbors to the west in terms of their cooperation?
Don't think so, because if you recall, when we put that in, they said we could put it in so long as we managed it and maintained it for perpetuity.
Okay.
I will notify them if you support this, I'm not gonna just do it in a vacuum. But yeah, the other thing was that when we initially put that system in, that was in 2019. So I'm like, well, you're also getting new batteries and new push buttons and things like that. So I'm getting new stuff, so that's a good thing. I don't have to worry about trying to work it into my capital or things like that.
Can I
'Cause
get
a
a
lot of
motion?
it'll be upgraded.
Thank you, Dan. Can I get a motion to approve the McKnight Road crosswalk improvements with TAPCO?
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Is there further discussion?
I have a question regarding the cameras. Are the cameras capturing the vehicle?
They're over
traffic,
the
or-
crosswalk is my understanding. I don't know how far, like width-wise, it captures the video. But I know it is supposed to be so you can look down on the person, like if there were, God forbid, an accident or something, you'd be able to capture that video, send it to police and see what actually happened. I don't know how far away from it it'll capture.
I mean, we've had people at our ward meetings even asking about our flock cameras and, whether or not their privacy is invaded because of that. And we've had good explanations of that it's only triggering and capturing, stolen plates and things like that.
Yeah, because this will only record once the system's flashing and activated. It won't actively constantly be recording. That's my understanding from Blade.
Right, but I mean,
described it to me.
if somebody feels like, they don't want their kids, as they're crossing over to go to the park, they don't want to be recorded every time, I could just imagine that being a bit of a concern from residents, although, the privacy concern, although I think, the safety of the crosswalk is certainly outweighs that. I just wanted to kind of get a sense from this program if we've got any, and I know the flock cameras, the only people who have access to that system, cloud system, is our police department. So that's another thing that makes people feel comfortable that nobody else can go in and just get pictures of kids or something like that, right?
Yeah,
so-
this they would give us the admin, right? So I could just make it for me or, the chief and
Yeah, what
myself.
kind of security do we have with that system?
Yeah, it's a cloud, it's username and password, but I mean, if somebody hacks into TAPCO, I don't know what they would see. I really don't.
So, I mean, I'm generally for it. I just want to make sure that we're prepared for conversations that I'm sure some of our residents might ask us regarding.
I know it
that.
overwrites too. There's only so much it can hold and then it starts overwriting itself. So it's not like you can go query it for 2 years from now or whatever. It's only active, I think, for like a 30-day window.
How many kids or how many people use that crosswalk?
I don't know.
It's in the middle, it just seems like expensive to put that there if nobody uses it, or very few.
I know, and that was the other question. I know CBB looked at, years ago when we talked about improving McKnight. I thought they had like between 40 and 50 crossings, but it's seasonal. It depends on, if Winter Wonderland's in effect, they close that side gate. But I know I've seen people there just in my
It was
few
a
trips.
major discussion, if Alderman Plufka remembers.
Well, yeah, and I can say, but it's anecdotal. It's not, I'm not keeping track, but
Yeah.
I do get, mostly from folks that live on White Pine, Sonora.
And they should be.
I mean,
able
I
to
used
cr- you
it
should
to
be able
get to the
cross
park.
over. Yeah,
So,
but I didn't know if they just would rather go up to McKnight and cross over that way.
Over
But I
the-
mean, if they
what do you
use
mean?
it, I'm all for it, but if they don't, it just
live
seems like a waste of money.
Right?
We would have to pay for the rapid flash beacons and the rental of the bucket trucks. So there's,
One-time cost.
yeah, a little over $4,000. Yeah. But if we let the system fail, it would cost more to replace it when it's aged out at, say, 10 years old.
Probably the cost of the batteries replacement.
Yeah, I thought, well, if I'm getting push buttons and a bunch of other tech and that's newer, and, hopefully more reliable, not that this isn't reliable, but they typically make improvements every couple of years.
Okay, any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Alderman Plufka?
Yes.
Alderwoman Sims?
yes.
Alderman Gould?
Yes.
Alderwoman Harder?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you very much, and thanks again, Dan.
Okay, thanks.
The last item, our second to last item, our last item on our agenda are, again, a visit to citizen comments. Anybody in the audience, anybody online wishes to make any comment to this committee with regard to public safety issues in the city of Brentwood, you'll be recognized for up to 3 minutes. Please provide us your name and your address.
There's no one online.
Okay, and there's nobody here, and then I'll close citizen comments, and seeing no additional items on the agenda, I declare this meeting